Today we're going to talk about the camera that has recorded me, and that is the Sony FX30. And then we're also going to talk about the Canon R7. And I'm going to tell you why I'd much rather reach for the FX30 when I'm shooting video over this camera right here. So the first reason why I reach for the FX30 is because of the lens options. And I mentioned this in a video before, but I feel like it's still a huge problem for this Canon R7. There are no RFS professional lenses available for this camera. So anytime you want to use a zoom lens, you have to use an adapter like this and adapt older EF-S or EF lenses to the camera to get something that has, better light performance and better image quality. And of course, you could use the RF lenses, which are made for the full frame cameras. But when it comes to zoom lenses, those are pretty pricey. There's just a ton of lens options for Sony, just like the 17 to 70 f2.8 that's shooting me. Another one of my favorite lenses for the Sony is the 18 to 105 lens. This is an f4 lens, but it has the power zoom on it, which I just love. And let me just say this, the Canon R7 doesn't suck or anything, all right? There's definitely one area where I feel like it is better than the FX30, and we're gonna get into that a little later, so just stay tuned for that. So the second reason, it seems small, but to me it's kind of a big reason, and that's the lights on this camera. There's a light right now on the front that is shining to let me know that I'm recording. There's a red outline on the LCD screen to let me know that I'm recording. And on the back of the camera, there's a light. On the top of the camera, there's a light. So there's just so many lights that you can never goof up when you're shooting fast action. It really helps. Okay, so we're up to number 3 now, and there's 5. There's gonna be 5 altogether. I'm gonna save the best for last because that one is the one that makes the biggest difference to me and is the reason why I feel the FX30 is far superior for video over the R7. Now, the next thing is the XLR handle that you can get as an option with this camera. And you can turn your audio up with a dial instead of going in through the camera and clicking on buttons and menus. Plus, on the FX30, it's a handle too. It's not just an XLR box, but it's a handle that you can use to lift the camera, hold the camera. Now, I know you could get the same thing with the R7. This is true, but it's not a handle, right? It's just the little XLR box, so it's a little different, and I prefer the one on the Sony. And the next one is 10-bit recording codecs. Now, yes, I know the R7 has a 10-bit 4K 422 codec, but you can only use it if you're shooting in C-Log. You can't use it with any other picture profile. With the Sony, you have 10-bit recording, not just in 4K, you also have it in HD, and you can use it in C-Log, you could use it with any picture profile you want, or just use it with no picture profile. And you're like, well, what's the big deal with that? Well, the big deal is I don't want to use C-Log all the time. C-Log takes extra work to grade, and I find it very annoying, to be honest, just to sit there and take a bunch of time to make the picture look like a picture profile that's already built into the camera. And here's number 5. Number 5 is just the ease of use with the Sony FX30 in comparison to the R7 when it comes to recording. And here's the major thing when I say ease of use. When you hit the record button on the R7, you have no capability of changing any setting anymore. The only thing you can manipulate is the volume on the microphone and the volume coming out of the headphones. That's almost the only thing you can do. You no longer can change the white balance. You no longer can change the picture profile. You no longer can turn image stabilization on or off or change it to a different flavor of image stabilization. You lose all capability of that. You no longer have access to the leveler. There's just numerous things on the Canon that once you hit record, you can't do anything with it. But with the Sony, when I hit record, I still have all of that stuff. All the things I mentioned, I can still change. Not only that, but I can see my settings on the screen. You lose all that stuff on the Canon R7, and it's highly annoying. Just trust me, it's highly annoying and can seriously screw you up when you're shooting. I made a whole video about the things you should know about the Canon R7 before you buy it. You might want to check that out because there's more things that I didn't even mention right there that it does or doesn't do that are very, very frustrating. And the FX30 just does a better job with all that and makes it a very smooth video shooting experience. So I mentioned earlier that there was one thing about the Canon R7 that I like more than the Sony, and that is the image quality straight out of the camera. When I use the neutral profile on the Canon and I just make small modifications to it, it is so beautiful right out the camera. You don't have to do anything to it. Forget shooting in C-Log, because it just looks perfect to me for what I'm shooting, for like weddings and stuff, because it's really pretty, it's really colorful, it's vivid, it's saturated but not overly saturated. It just looks really nice. The Sony does have S-Cinetone that people rave about, and it does look good, but I don't love it right out of the camera. I know that what I'm gonna have to do is go into that profile and probably add some more saturation to it, maybe, maybe bump up the contrast, and I'm gonna have to play with it just a little bit to get it to look exactly the way I want out of camera. And like I said, if you wanna know more things about the Canon R7 that might stop you from buying it, you're gonna wanna watch this video.